everybody. I think we're going to get started now. So thank you, everybody, for coming to the Entrepreneurship panel. My name is Kristen Matthews, and I'm the Spark Zone coordinator here on campus. So I'll be your moderator for today's session. This afternoon, we have an exceptional guest who are here to inform you of one of the most exciting and fastest growing industries in the field, in the industries. So before we get started, I'm just going to have a few housekeeping items that I'd like to review. So there's a slight mix-up with the promotion of the panel. Instead of 2:15, the panel actually goes until 2:45, and you need to stay for the entirety of the panel to get your learning passport stamped. So just wanted to address that. And in case of an emergency, please evacuate through the nearest fire exit. Please turn off or mute your cell phones for the remainder of the session. And we kindly ask you remain seated through the panel, but if you do have to get up at any time, then please use the door to my left right here. And please postpone all questions until the end, as we will have an open Q&A at the end. And finally, many of you know that this is Learning Passport eligible, and in order to keep things efficient, we ask that you complete your booklet page before receiving a stamp, and you will receive a stamp at the very end of the session. So with that said, we're going to get started. So I have my four amazing entrepreneurs to my left right here, and I'm going to give them the chance to introduce themselves with my first question. So hello, Mary Jane.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
My first question is to please describe your company and what roles you play. So kind of take me through a day-to-day in the life of Mary Jane. And introduce yourself as well.
Wow, a day-to-day. So my name's Mary Jane Copps, and I own a business called The Phone Lady. I train people how to communicate effectively on the phone. My primary market is business-to-business communication. So picking up the phone and speaking to customers and clients and investors is still a very important part and will remain a very important part of business communication. A day in the life of the phone lady could include, well, why don't I pick yesterday? I guess because there's something they want to make sure I tell you, so I'll pick yesterday. So yesterday I did 2 teletraining sessions, one with 10 financial advisors that work for TD Canada Trust in Ontario, training them how to reach out to their client base and inspire conversation with their clients and book meetings with their clients over the phone. And the other was a company in Mississauga called Pearson & Bonnette. And they work with individuals that want to get their MBA online. And part of their job is to get referrals from these people on the phone to other students who may want to get an online MBA. So we were working with the language of that. And then I also celebrated being on 22 Minutes. So I got to do today is the 140th anniversary of the very first phone call by Alexander Graham Bell. And 22 Minutes did a skit on Tuesday night about talking on the phone, and I got to be part of that skit, so that was a lot of fun.
Awesome, that's great. And Corrine.
Thank you. My name is Corrine Boudreau, and I own a law firm called Certainties Law, Inc. I started my own law practice 3 years ago after practicing law at a larger law firm and doing tax law at an accounting firm. Most of the clients that I have are small business owners, and I found out fairly early in my career that these are the people that I like to work with the most. So three years ago, I decided the best way to provide legal services to them was to start my own practice and put them kind of at the center of what I wanted to do. A day in the life. I have 2 children in elementary school, so they're always a big part of my life, but I'll start with after I've dropped them off. Excuse me. Yesterday, I had a couple of meetings with clients, as is quite typical in the type of work that I do. I met with an accountant and the client and myself, so I often work a lot with accountants. So one of the meetings I had yesterday was to speak with somebody who's kind of restructuring their business and talking about whether they wanted to incorporate, and if they did, what that structure would look like. I spent some other time on the phone with other lawyers, one of whom doesn't do a lot of business law, so I was chatting with her about some particular issues that she had run into. And I also dealt with a lawyer. We were dealing with the sale of a business. So I'm on the purchaser side, she's on the vendor side, and we were discussing some of the issues. So that's kind of a typical day for me in my law practice.
That's great, thank you. And Sean?
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Court, and hi, Piao Ching and Hao Peng. My brother and I, James, we're about a year apart. We started a company called Beaumont Company. And what we do, we're an exhibit and display company, so we really help display brands. So if you think of everything from a small banner, say, that might be behind us or beside us at an event, to large pavilions that if you're with Canada or Atlantic Canada, at a trade show, maybe you're going to China or Dubai to promote fisheries or agriculture. We do everything from design right through to fabrication for these displays. A day in the life, it's a little bit different every day. Again, I'll give you guys an example. We just came back from Boston, where we provided services to the government for the Boston Seafood Show. It's the biggest seafood show, second biggest in the world, I believe it is. And it's amazing we can go and really help. There's so many amazing fisheries products in the province, but if they go to a show that big, how do they stand out? So they need good displays, good products, so it's our pleasure to help them with that. And day to day, I wear two hats. We're a newer company, so it's about half business development. It's attending these meetings, conferences, events, and half project management, so I kind of make sure these events run smoothly.
Perfect, thank you, Sean. And last but not least, Ginny?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ginny Sterling-Boddie, and if I put it out to you to guess the type of business that I own, I don't think you would guess. I own a junk removal business called Junkery. We are an award-winning, and Nora tells me I have to tell you this, we just won New Business of the Year through the Halifax Chamber of Commerce Business Awards. Thank you. And I made notes, unlike everyone else, because I can't remember these good answers that I have to give you. We provide customized junk removal solutions because I recognize that junk removal for many people can be a very emotional and psychological issue. We give two options for junk removal. One is a Junkery bag. It's a very large portable bag that you can use in place of a big metal dumpster. And we do regular junk pickup when you don't have time to do it yourself. And we sort and recycle everything that we pick up from you in order to minimize the amount of waste that's going to the landfill. Because we're an owner-operated business, I own the business with my husband, a typical day for me really touches on every single aspect of owning a small business. Marketing and promotions, customer service, human resources, financial, strategy, and managing day-to-day stress. That's my typical day.
Great, thank you all so much. So for my next question, I'm going to start with Corrine. So what was the motivation to start your business, and why did you choose to start the business that you did?
My motivation. I found at some point, at least after I became a lawyer, and I think we'll talk a little bit later about how we got to where we landed, but I found one day I was sitting in at my desk of the large, very prestigious law firm that I was working in, and I just thought, I don't like this. This doesn't feel right. I've since written a song about it called Soul Sucking Situation. So that pretty much says it all right there. Not everyone at this place finds the place to be soul sucking, so I can't exactly explain why it felt soul sucking to me, but that's what it was. So I just said, I don't want to do this for another 30 years. I can't. So then I started thinking about what the other options were. So, I mean, I'm sure lots of people have this experience, but it was a bit of a winding road. Eventually, I'd always, in the back of my mind, I did a business degree at Acadia before I went to law school, so I always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to start a business, But I think at that time, I felt like if I didn't invent something as cool as Velcro or, sticky notes or something, if I didn't come up with an invention, how would I start a business? It really didn't occur to me, or even after graduating from law school, it really didn't occur to me to start my own law practice. That wasn't kind of what people did. So it was a fairly long and winding road and a little bit of I call it midlife crisis number 1. I reserve the right to have another one before I completely leave middle age. But that was sort of what pushed me out to entrepreneurship, was feeling like where I was working, I wasn't happy. And then thinking about, I do like what I do, and I like some of the clients that I work with, so how could I do this differently? And so that's really what led me to saying, hey, I just need to start my own thing, and hopefully that will work.
That's great, thank you. And Sean?
For me, this all comes down to, similar really, but all comes down to people. My brother and I, and these, business, we believe, is all people. It's how do you provide value. So it could be value in many different ways, but for us, it's more so we have superior products and services, but it's about how to display other people's value. It's really a different kind of model. Again, Nova Scotia, how does Nova Scotia sell themselves to the world as a vacation spot or as premier seafood and agriculture? So we kind of take the responsibility of, if you're starting a business, if you guys want to start a business when you graduate and you want to attend events in Halifax or you want to fly to Belgium for an event, we want to make sure if you're investing all that time, all that effort, all that money, that you're going to capitalize on that event or at that venue. So it's a little bit different, but for us it's about people and making sure that if you guys are working hard, if we're all working hard, that you're going to capitalize on these events, on these shows. People are going to see you when you attend. You're going to not just have a business card, but you're going to have a backdrop or a banner, something that really sticks out, and so that when you guys put the effort out, people recognize it.
Awesome, great. And moving on to Ginny.
For me, my motivation was time. I had put close to 20 years of my time on this planet into building up other people's businesses. And I got to the point where the most important thing for me just was simply time. And the best way for me to take control of my own time was to start my own business. Whatever business I was thinking of starting, it had to be based in being able to make a change in the type of industry that it was in. Junk removal certainly wasn't the first one that came to my mind, but I did a small home kitchen renovation, and my eyes were opened to what was available for junk removal and how it was offered, and I was disappointed in what I found, and that became then the challenge for me, was how do I change how junk removal is offered and how people see junk removal.
That's great, thanks Ginny. And moving on to Mary Jane.
I think I'm too stubborn and independent to be a good employee. I have been an entrepreneur since before most of you were born. I started my first business at the age of 29, which takes us way back to 1987. This particular business, so I sold my shares in that business in 2001. And I was taking a little break, and during that break I was helping a friend expand his software business. And at some point I said to him, okay, I gotta go. I gotta get a decent paycheck again. And he said, no, I think you need to start another business. He said, the stuff you know about talking on the phone, everybody needs to know that. And I said to him, no, I don't think this is a business. I think this is common sense. I don't think there's any money in this. And he said, no, I'm pretty sure it's a business. And he said, I dare you to start it. Well, again, independent and stubborn. So that's how this business started, was on that dare. And I get to be independent, and I get to be stubborn and make money all at the same time. It's good.
Sounds like you're living the life. All right, so my next question, I'm going to start off with Sean. So what are the disadvantages and advantages, as you see them, of being an entrepreneur?
There's a lot of both. I think really if you choose something you love to do, not don't think of a product. Like if you're interested in technology, don't think that you love a phone. Don't think of a product. Don't think of a service. Think of something bigger, like a deeper meaning. Think of something you're really passionate about, something you really want to help with. If you think of something like this, then entrepreneurship really becomes a fuel. It's almost like water or protein to running a marathon. People running marathons normally run them for a cause. People don't just like to. Some people do like running, but you don't just simply run. So I believe when you have a bigger picture, when you have a deep belief, running that business, you don't think about how hard it is. You think about putting one foot in front of the other, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how much you're working day to day. You just think like a marathon, putting one foot in front of the other, because it's for a bigger cause. And again, sky's the limit when you do that. Look at these. I couldn't run probably 20 kilometers, but you have guys running. I think there's a guy that ran like 50 Ironmans in 1 year, so it's pretty interesting.
Wow. All right, and Ginny, what are some of the disadvantages and advantages of being an entrepreneur?
I think a huge advantage, if you're thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, is that you're going to be investing your time, your education, and your experience back into yourself. You're putting all of that effort into your own business instead of someone else's business. A disadvantage that I've learned is that you have to learn a lot in a very short period of time, things that you couldn't study for, things that you don't expect. Things pop up, and you need to be able to deal with those things as soon as the problem is identified, because otherwise it becomes a really big problem. As a small business, every single resource you have, whether it's time or finances, is incredibly valuable to a small business owner. So you need to use both of those things very wisely and very efficiently.
Thank you, Ginny. And Mary Jane.
Well, the disadvantage is it is always my fault. So there's nobody else to blame when things go wrong or things get messed up. You are in charge. So that's the positive thing, too, is that I'm in charge. And I am learning new things every day. So if you find yourself that having a routine or having the same things happen every day is what drags you down, when you own your own business, every day is vastly different. And you're always learning new skills. You're always being challenged. But I also want to pick up on something Sean said. Being an entrepreneur isn't about creating a paycheck or making money. It doesn't tend to work that way. It tends to be about what you're passionate about. Because there are times when it's really difficult, really lonely, when you have to make really tough decisions. And if you love what you're doing and you can see an end point, it's the best way to live.
That's great. Thank you, Mary Jane. And Corrine.
There's so many advantages in terms of, I think just, again, it comes back to it's not soul-sucking. It feels very much fulfilling when you're doing something that you've created. I mean, I remember the first client I got, and I shouldn't have been that excited. I mean, it was foreseeable that I would have a client. But the first time someone called me and said, look, I want you to do this for me, and then I sent them an invoice and they paid me, I mean, that was exciting because it was all me. It wasn't this machine. It was somebody that had contacted me. I had done the work, and then they paid me. It was cool. So it does feel very fulfilling. And I think even just the part about seeing a gap somewhere in the market and filling it, and often it comes from a passion, that makes you feel good. I guess on the downside, though, you don't get automatically, money doesn't show up in your bank account every 2 weeks like it used to. Some months or weeks you might have more than you would have had before, and other times you certainly would have less. So it's riskier. And I think some people that are very risk averse, it would drive them crazy. I know my husband works for the federal government, and he's a very risk averse guy. And being an entrepreneur would not be suitable for him at all. He thought I was nuts when I left a steady job. But he certainly supports that. But there are, some people would experience the risks and excitement of entrepreneurship in a way that they would not enjoy. But it's certainly something that I think if you have a mindset that you enjoy risk and enjoy creating something new and following your passion, that you will experience those advantages, and they'll probably outweigh the disadvantages.
Great, that's great advice, Corinne. Thank you. My next question, I'm going to start off with Ginny. So since you started your business, how has it evolved, and are you doing what you had planned to do?
In many ways, for me, my career has come full circle. A very long time ago, I began in administrative support roles. And I know firsthand that admin roles become an epicenter of any business. They observe everything going on around them. And I find now, 20 plus years later, owning my own business, I'm at that 40,000-foot view again, where I'm looking down on everything happening. And I have, all the pieces in play. And that felt very similar to me when I was in an admin role and I could see everything happening at the same time.
That's great. And Mary Jane?
Well, it's evolved in surprising ways, I think. So my initial clients with the phone lady were companies and individuals that had to sell on the phone as part of creating their business. So financial advisors, people in insurance, small business owners. Today, so I started the phone lady, as I said, 10 years ago. Today, my clients include the Royal Bank, TD Canada Trust, Marriott Hotels, some very big corporate players who want to make sure that all their staff have the ability to communicate effectively on the phone. And the other surprising thing that I didn't see coming at all was that I'm doing a lot of work with colleges and universities. Because as you finish your degree, much to your surprise, you may find yourself facing a phone interview for a job. And many of you are not comfortable talking on your phone. The other thing about when you finish your degree, about 85% of the job market is not advertised. So many of you are going to find that the way to get the job you want is to pick up the phone and start talking to those companies you want to work for. So I'm spending a lot of time teaching students at the end of their academic career how to communicate on the phone effectively in order to get the job that they want.
That's great. Thank you, Mary Jane. And off to you, Corinne.
I think my career has had many different twists and turns, but I think the cool thing is being an entrepreneur, I think you can take all that you've learned from many different types of experiences and apply it to your work as an entrepreneur. Sort of like what Ginny was saying, I did some admin work, which always comes in handy. I sold vacuum cleaners door to door. I worked as a personal care worker. I did, spent time backpacking and did various jobs. I mean, I think everything you learn, for instance, working as a personal care worker and working in healthcare and having some, and I actually did a master's in health administration, which I almost forgot about. Oh yeah, that. Having some knowledge of the healthcare system certainly helps me when I'm doing, estate planning for business owners and people coming asking me, well, if I want my family to follow these wishes with respect to either property or healthcare. I mean, all of that, it all comes together. And so I think if I had taken a much more direct path, perhaps to where I am, I would not have the breadth and wealth of experiences that I do. So I think it's great that you can, all these strange experiences that you have over time can all come together and you can use them all in some way. Even you might not even realize how you're using them, but they all come together in the end.
Absolutely. Thank you. So Sean, the question goes off to you.
Certainly. I want to first even echo what Corrine said there at the end, I really believe that to start a business, that's the first thing you really need to do. It's the most important thing is start. It doesn't matter how small, and I'll relate this to myself. It's like a tumbleweed in the desert. A lot of entrepreneurs start selling lemonade, or they do something like that at a very young age, and it's like a tumbleweed effect. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you might start it might be a summer project, and then it's a part-time in the school year, and then all of a sudden you're graduated, it's a full-time job. So it's amazing. You really want to start, and it just gets bigger and faster, but you really do need to start. So for my brother and I, it was a fresh out of family business that we thought. Instead of our parents, of course, said, you need to go do this and this, and we said, nope. So we didn't want to listen to them. But we really had to dive into research because, how do you start a business from scratch? You've heard all these stories that, it's really that gray zone where you're leaving either school or you're leaving a secure job, and you have to jump into it and provide a living for yourself. So it's really, really interesting that it's a gray zone, but it's really important. So for us, we had to wear a lot of hats. I'm the really innovative type. I like to create new services that are going to sell, but you got to actually sell them. So I think how it really evolved for us is at first we really did need to do research, but then we found out that we really do need to make money as well. So that gray zone that eventually now, hopefully about 100% of my time will be focused strictly on sales, and other people can focus on designing the products, installing the products, managing the projects, and then the business can grow and we can help more people.
Great, thank you. So my next question, I think I got everybody, right? Yes, perfect. Okay, so my next question, Mary Jane, I'm going to start off with you. So when you think about starting, running, or growing a business, your business, what are some of the significant challenges you face, and what are some of the highlights? And you can feel free to give specific examples or stories that you may have.
I think the challenge for every business owner, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, is there's a lot to running a business. As everybody's pointed out, you're wearing all the hats, and then you finally get some clients, and that's exciting. So you start giving them all your time and your attention, and you get so busy you forget that you're going to need more clients in the future. That working with the clients you have in front of you is great, but once you invoice them and the project is done, where are the other clients coming from? So the biggest challenge I see with all the entrepreneurs I work with, and even with myself, is the balance in the business itself. How do you run the business, keep your clients happy, but also keep generating interest and future work so that you don't have a revenue gap? Most entrepreneurs hit a point early on where they look up from their busy schedule and realize, oh my goodness, I don't have any new clients lined up. And in that moment, you could be 60 or 90 days away then from the point where you get a new client, you do the work, and you invoice them. And that can be a very scary moment. There's a lot of times entrepreneurs walk away at that particular moment when they realize there's no money coming in for the next 90 or 120 days. But what's wonderful today about being an entrepreneur, so when I quit my job, I was working as a real estate journalist for the Globe and Mail when I quit my job to start my first business. And at that time, people just thought you were crazy. The word entrepreneur was not being used. People just thought you were nuts to walk away from a check. Today, as entrepreneurs, you have so much support. You have so many people now that have lived this experience and want to mentor you or want to provide you with their wisdom or help you. And I'm originally from Ontario, and I can tell you that owning and starting a business in Nova Scotia is amazing. Nova Scotians, Maritimers probably too, are very supportive of each other. And I know that the Phone Lady, if I'd started it in Toronto, it would not be the success it is today. The reason that I have meetings at head office of TD Canada Trust on Bay Street is because TD Canada Trust here in Atlantic Canada made that introduction for me. So you want to know that that's really what's amazing about thinking about or embracing entrepreneurship today. You're going to get a lot of support, and the self-confidence that you'll build up because what you're creating is of value to people and people talk about it. It's pretty awesome.
That's great. Thank you, Mary Jane. Corrine.
I think one of the challenges that's particular to being an innovative lawyer is that the lawyers themselves were trained to be risk averse, and the profession of law is quite conservative. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. I mean, one of the ways that laws evolve is by looking at how things have been decided before, and then we sort of follow that. So there is precedent in terms of how laws are interpreted. So innovation in law is still, I still feel sometimes like I'm fighting an uphill battle. If, you know, I'm in a regulated profession, so anything I do that is new and different is something that I could at some point have to talk to my regulator about, or my insurer, and they might wonder why I am not doing it like everyone else is doing it, because there's often safety in doing it like everyone else is doing it. So anytime I try to do something new, I have to perhaps look at the legislation that I'm governed by and my code of conduct and all kinds of other things and try to figure out if it's going to be okay. I think one of the things that's helped with that is, and one of the things I did yesterday, which I forgot about, was I participated in a Twitter chat. I like Twitter chats. But the Canadian Bar Association had a legal futures initiative. So there's certainly a lot more talk now about innovation and in the law field, so it's kind of fun to be part of that. But that's certainly a challenge in an industry where lawyers mostly do things. Now, of course, technology is different, but a lot of the things that the way that lawyers and clients interact are almost exactly the same as they were 100 years ago, with a few computers thrown in there. So it is sometimes challenging to be in a field that's not particularly innovative, but trying to be an innovator in that field. But I think it's been good to be part of some initiatives that are going on and to find some other like-minded people who kind of get what you're trying to do, and they can be very supportive in terms of trying to change things in that kind of industry.
Thank you. That's great, Corrine. And moving on to Sean, I'll just repeat the question. So when you think about starting, running, or growing a business, what have been some of the significant challenges that you face and also some of the highlights?
I think one of the biggest things, again, is I'll relate this to a company like Facebook or to a big tech company. Most businesses are small businesses in the world. If you look at Canada, even Nova Scotia, I think it's something like over 90% of businesses are small businesses. So you can't simply wear one hat. You can't simply be extremely I'm sorry, you can, but you can't, normal small businesses, you can't just develop something and hope to get bought out for $10 million. You really do need to be a little bit of a lawyer, a little bit of a administration person. You need to be good on the phone. You can't, right away, you can't hire a big team. You need to have these skills yourself. You really need to learn how to do them yourself. But the big transition phase, and I think this is where the big opportunity is looking for the right people. Because as you grow, you need to hire someone like the phone lady, for example. And you need to look at, in Nova Scotia, the support there is. See the Centre for Entrepreneurship, Halifax Partnership. They have many programs, NSBI. Once you look to export, you need someone that is an expert. You go to a local group. We're very lucky in Nova Scotia to have a lot of help, even as international students or as recent graduates. There's a lot of programs that help you. One, start a business, even become a permanent resident. There's so much help out there. So it's about seeing what you need help with, and knowing that no one can do everything, and then asking for that help, because there's a lot of it out here, and myself, I moved to Halifax about a year ago, and I'm so lucky that I moved here, and I'm very thankful to a lot of the organizations we have here.
Great, thank you. That's great advice, Sean. And Ginny, the question goes off to you now.
So the wording of that question, when you think about starting, running, or growing your business, on any given day, I'm sure many entrepreneurs might use the word run. Don't do it. The starting a business is easy. The starting part is really easy. You have the idea, you have the energy, you have the excitement, and off you go. The execution or running of the business is a little more challenging. It takes drive, it takes a lot of initiative, and it takes a lot of motivation, because there are some days where you'll be very excited about it and some days where you'll be just very disappointed in what's happening. I would say one of the most significant challenges that we've faced is human resources. Hiring people and adding staff members takes a lot of time, energy, and mentoring. People will be the most important investment in your business. It's not the flashy sign that you put out front or how great the truck looks. It's really the people that you're bringing in to help you run that business. So that, for us, is the most important thing that we've done. Because no one will love or nurture your business the same way that you do. A highlight for us is when you see your team or a customer kind of click and see, oh, this is what makes them different from some of the other junk removal businesses. That's a really big highlight for us, because we are in a very competitive market. There are big national franchise junk removal companies here who have been here for a long time. A highlight for us, I mentioned earlier, is that we won New Business of the Year, which was nice, and we got that nomination within about 8 months of us launching. With 4 months into our business, the Globe and Mail and TELUS Small Business had a $100,000 small business challenge, which we entered, and we were named one of the 50 honorable mentions out of 3,300 small businesses across Canada. And that one for us as well really, kind of legitimized what we were doing and gave us a big pat on the back that we're doing the right thing and we're doing it the right way in building the brand that we are.
That's great, Ginny. Thank you, and congratulations on your award.
Thanks.
So Mary Jane, I'm going to move on to you. What do you see as the key management skills needed in organizations today?
I think you're supposed to take this first. I started last time, so I'm going to let Corrine.
Oh,
So
man.
Corinne, what do you see as the key management skills needed in organizations today?
I'm going to look at his answer. Yeah. I think, when you're an entrepreneur, I don't know about big organizations. I'm not going back there. I'm sorry. I've ruined myself from having a job in a big organization now. I'm like Mary Jane. I think if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you definitely put yourself out there. I remember the day before my website was going to launch, and all of a sudden, and I'm pretty confident. I'm a jock, so I grew up playing sports. I'm used to sort of putting it out there, and you win or you lose. But the day before my website was about to launch, all of a sudden I had some anxiety about, oh man, my picture is going to be there, and it's going to all my bio and all the stuff about me, and there was going to be an article on allnovascotia.com about it, and so you have to be a certain type of leader to put yourself out there as owning a business, because people are hiring you, people are saying no to you, people are, giving you their money. So I think definitely to be an entrepreneur, you have to have some leadership skills and you have to have some confidence in what you're doing. I think I'll stop there.
Perfect. Thank you, Corinne. And Sean?
I have very similar beliefs. I believe, again, very people. If you look at, I can say, our generation, we're on our phones a lot. We're even on our phones half the time when we drive. Heads up, Halifax. In business, you really need that personal connection. And like Mary Jane said, you really need it on the phone, because, even in my business, I can send out 100 emails, and people are just busy. people don't really get back to emails all that often. And when they do, it's maybe they don't understand exactly what you mean or exactly how you're saying it, or they don't even hear your voice. People want to hear your enthusiasm. If you have a great product or a service, you really need to show them. So you really need that communication on the phone. It's so important, and face to face. You could, people say it's a problem with our generation, but I think it's a massive opportunity because you look at technology and how, in China, I can communicate right now, people in China so easily. I could fly, we can all be there in like, 16 hours. So the world is extremely small, and it's really our generation that's going to capitalize on that way more than anyone else. But we just need to be careful and need to recognize the opportunity that face-to-face communication and being sharp on the phone is going to be a very, very, very good thing for our generation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean. And Ginny, the question goes off to you.
With a startup, you're starting from an idea. It's different if you're buying a pre-existing business. It's different if you're buying into a franchise model that has everything in place for you. But if you want to become an entrepreneur based on an idea, I think one of the key management skills that you need to be able to do is to inspire and motivate, because the people that are going to help you see that vision that you have to believe it, and in order for them to believe it, they need to be inspired and motivated about what's driving you to start that business.
Thank you, Ginny. And finally, Mary Jane.
Okay, I've got it now. Stay calm. The biggest mistakes I have ever made, I made because I panicked. And all the time, as a business owner, things are not going to go exactly the way you visualized. And if you panic, you'll make the wrong decision. So know that no matter what happens, it's not going to be the end of your business. Take a deep breath and look at the situation and judge what your options are instead of rushing at something. A story that I'll share with you, one of the challenges that I think we addressed, but deserves a little bit more visit, is when your business grows, how do you handle business growth? Especially if you are a solopreneur, when's the moment that you decide to hire? When's the moment you decide to sign a lease on office space? These are big decisions that commit you to having X number of dollars in the bank every month. It can be really, really scary. So business growth is a tremendous challenge, and sometimes things don't work out. I had the unexpected surprise in 2013 of being quoted in the Wall Street Journal. Now that's a big honor and a big surprise, and at the time the quote came out, because it took 4 months for that story to develop, I was working 2 days a week for a client as an interim sales manager, and I had other clients as well, and I was not prepared for what happens when your name appears in the Wall Street Journal. Thousands of emails and phone calls, just absolutely thousands, and I did not keep up. I didn't. Did I lose opportunities? You bet I did. I wasn't ready. But I don't beat myself up about it. And I learned a lot from that experience about what media coverage can do to your business, and you better be ready. So I think that's the challenge. Stay calm and learn from everything that happens. Take a lesson. Instead of being angry or disappointed, take a lesson and move that ahead in your business growth.
Thank you, Mary Jane. So my next question, I'm going to start off with Sean. So here at the Mount, we have a very big cooperative education program for business students, tourism students, PR students. So can you maybe tell us about types of jobs that might be available for students with your company, either currently or in the future? Summer jobs, co-op programs, jobs for new grads, anything like that?
Thank you for asking that question. We are very familiar with the co-op program here. We're actually hiring one, possibly two, probably one co-op student this summer. And we are really in the marketing industry. So what that is with us, you'd be attending events, you'd be it'd be business outreach, you'd be a little bit of administration, but really you'd be more than the first. There's 3 or 4 of us normally. We have an office actually. Let me point the right way, like 500 feet down on Bedford Highway. And really, what it'd be, you'd be in the Halifax business community, building relationships, going to chamber events, going to local trade shows. So it's a really exciting way to get out, during the summer. It's not you always want to maybe dabble, is that a good word? You want to dabble into things and see exactly what you like, but in our industry, you get to see really everything. You get to see every business. I work with from cleaning companies to lottery corporations to governments to, everything. So it's a really interesting thing. We are hiring a co-op student, so please talk to me or email us. I think you guys have our information. And we do hire a lot of kind of contract, like everything. If anyone does graphic design or even communications, like writing, for example, then please talk to us about that as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. And Ginny.
Junkery is a junk removal company, but we're also a brand. Today I'm wearing lovely Michael Kors boots. Yesterday I wore steel-toed boots. It changes. For us, our brand requires a lot of marketing and promotion. I mentioned we are competing against 2 national junk removal franchises, so just getting our name out there is a big challenge for us. To say we're here and we're competitive with those folks. So a great summer or co-op opportunity for us would be a student in the marketing or public relations area who isn't afraid to really, one day wear nice shoes and one day wear steel toes.
Perfect. Thank you, Ginny. And Mary Jane, I know you were talking about this earlier, so.
I was. So I'll share with you my vision. I think I'm the old lady on the panel. And what I am looking for in my world is someone who may want to get involved with me as an executive assistant, or not a personal assistant, but I got a lot going on, and it would be great if I could borrow somebody else's brain to help me stay organized, for sure. But I also really visualize someone coming into this business and taking it over from me in the next decade or so. Through my wonderful lawyer. Although the brand is the Phone Lady and it's well known as the Phone Lady, the actual company name is Telephone Talent Inc. It's an incorporated company. So you don't have to be a lady to come and be interested in this business. But that's what I have my eye out for, is an energetic entrepreneur that is passionate about communication and is looking to own their own business.
That's great. Thank you, Mary Jane. And
If
Corrine.
only my voice was as sexy as yours, Mary Jane. If only.
Thank you. Yeah, good.
Now I've forgotten the question. Oh, yes. I would like to hire a law student at some point. That would be the logical thing. And I think the reason for hiring a law student would be to show them a different way of practicing law. But I think the first student that I'm going to hire is more likely to be a business or a computer science student. And the reason I say that is because a business student, I think one of the things I really need to figure out in a better way is what value I provide to my clients. And by understanding that better, I think I will be better at attracting clients and retaining them and providing them with more value. So I think that's a perspective that I need. So I'm almost looking for a summer student who has a different perspective. I would love to hire a computer science student because technology is a very important part of my business, and figuring out ways, all the ideas I have in my head, I cannot make them happen because I can't code. And I had a VIC-20 in 1982, and I used to code back then. I wish I had stayed with it. Anyway, so those are kind of unusual opportunities that I would like to hire students in those areas.
That's great. Thanks. So I do have one final question before we open the floor for audience questions. So I'll start off with Ginny. So what advice do you give our lovely university students here who might be thinking about starting their own business someday in the future or even soon?
Well, no one's, well, except for this guy, has gotten up and left yet. So you must all still be interested. My advice would be to plan some more, follow that up with some more planning. Build a really great business plan. The lovely Nora Perry from the Center for Women in Business can help you with that. Building a great business plan allows you not to be anxious about the picture 3 months from now. Mary Jane mentioned panicking. That's a common fear and feeling we all deal with owning a business. But it allows you to concentrate on what needs to be done today. Solve today's problem. Don't worry about tomorrow's problem. Solve that one tomorrow. It's a very reactionary thing, owning your own business, and you do have to change to adapt to that. For me, be careful not to become a perfectionist, because your business really can be great just as it is. Perfectionism is an issue for me, and it can slow movement and business strategy if you're not careful with it. So thankfully I have my husband as my business partner who can snap me out of that sometimes, because it is great just as it is, but I tend to go a little beyond that.
Thank you, Ginny. And Mary Jane.
I think one of my big pieces of advice is if you have an idea about the industry or the area where you want to be an entrepreneur, go and work for someone already in that industry. Go and work for another entrepreneur and just absorb all the knowledge that you can. Really dig in and find out from them how they made this business successful, how they managed to create a brand, how they balance the challenges of their business and their personal life. Learn everything you can before you hang out your shingle. I don't think you need an MBA. I don't have an MBA, but I know when I started a business at 29, thinking I knew everything, I didn't know nearly enough. So I think that first business taught me everything that it's allowing me to have a very successful business this second time round. Not that the first business wasn't successful, but it was a lot more work and a lot harder to be successful. So take advantage of every work experience that's placed in front of you to learn skills, attitudes, systems that you can then bring into your new business. And once you make the decision to become an entrepreneur, start networking. Start coming to Center for Women in Business events, start going to the chamber events, start talking to people. Because as I said earlier, Halifax, Nova Scotia, the Maritimes, if you start a business, lots of people will show up to help you grow that business. It's quite phenomenal.
Thank you, Mary Jane. And off to Corrine.
I often say the two sides of my brain fight with each other. The lawyer side of my brain would say, plan, get some experience, then start a business later on. The entrepreneur side of my brain says, do it. Just go do it. Just start something small. My children, I encourage them, I'm trying to encourage them to at least experience entrepreneurship. They started importing Lego minifigures and then selling them to their friends. So I thought that was a valuable experience for them to have at their age, because it just gives them some of the basics: supply, demand, the fact that they have to pay us back first before they get a profit, and got a little bit of a taste for what it feels like when someone shows up and gives you money for something that you've bought. So I would say maybe there's no wrong way to do it. If you have a business and fail, that's okay. That's okay. Not every business is successful, and a lot aren't. And sometimes people say fail fast. I don't know. Failure is always going to be painful, but I think that's part of taking the lumps and part of entrepreneurship. I think we have to be more open to taking risks, and sometimes it's easier to take a risk if you are younger and you don't have a lot of bills. maybe, but you have student loans, so if you do have student loans, maybe you have to think about paying those back too. So I think it can work any way, but if you're feeling like you want to try it, I say do it. Go for it.
Awesome. Thanks, Corinne. And finally, Sean.
I find this a very interesting question because I have something to share with you guys, and I actually only told one person. It's an exciting announcement. I only told one person so far, so now I'm going to tell about 100, I think. But before I do, I want to lead up with two kind of examples of how I got to this announcement. A local example, there's a very wealthy Lebanese businessman in Halifax, and I was talking to him once with my brother, and this is before we started our business. And I think we mentioned to him that we would like to start a business, and we kind of looked at him like, wow, how inspiring. This guy came from Lebanon and did a lot of really good things in Halifax. And we made a couple of connections of who we knew. We're originally from Prince Edward Island, and he mentioned he knew a restaurant owner there. And my brother said, wow, that was my first actual job. I think my brother was 14. He said, I used to wash dishes there. And the wealthy businessman looked at my brother and said in a very thick Lebanese accent, he said, we all started washing dishes. And it was a really neat thing because everyone starts somewhere. And with a business, everyone starts small. Even look at Facebook. I mean, I think the guy did just a hobby, pretty interesting. Most recently, I'll give you another example. When I was away in Boston on business, for this announcement, I was being interviewed by the Premier of Prince Edward Island in a little short video interview. And he asked me about, we're from a similar place in Prince Edward Island, and he asked me, what did I do? Did I do anything entrepreneurial when I was young? And I think I said, I used to take potatoes from the field and try to put them in a bag and sell them on the side of the road. And I told him a couple stories. And he looked at me and he said, did you ever dig worms? And I looked at him and I thought it was the craziest question I ever heard. I thought it was very strange. And I said, yes, Premier, I dug worms. So it just shows you that you can start doing anything, literally anything. I used to dig worms and sell them to fishermen when I was a kid. So the announcement I have that shows you that from digging worms to what you can do and that people in Atlantic Canada really will support you. I was recently, I think a couple days ago, I got an email. I was accepted to the G20 Young Entrepreneur Summit that will be held in Beijing. So I think I'm one of about 15 Canadians that will basically take all of your guys' input, your feelings, your policy, everything you guys have to say. I think youth is 18 to 39, so I'm going to try the next several months to work as hard as I can to get as educated as I can and get informed as I can to bring all this information to Beijing. We're meeting with Prime Minister Trudeau while he's in Shanghai at the trip. We're engaging a lot of people so that if you guys think there's something really important that needs to happen, we're actually working on a startup visa. So in the G20 nations, we're trying to get it so that you can go for up to a year, I believe it is, and test a business, start a business within the G20 nations. So there's a lot of really cool things we're working on, but I can't do it. I only have so much input, so whatever you guys can share, it will be in the media, so if you can reach out to the G20 Futurepreneurs who's heading it up in Canada, we really need your input because it's for you guys and it's for all of us. So it shows you what you can do. I started digging worms and selling potatoes, but now I'm really looking forward to your guys' input and what we can all work on together.
Well done.
Thank you.
Cool.
That's amazing. Congratulations, Sean. So really quickly before I open the floor for questions, I just want to mention to you, here at the Mount we have the Spark Zone, and if you are serious about starting a business at some point in the near future, or you're just kind of thinking about it, that's why we're here. We're really student oriented. We really want to help you guys create this entrepreneurial culture on campus. So if you are actually interested in starting a business and you just want to sit down and talk about it and you want to know kind of where to go next, then feel free to come talk to me. I'm here all the time. So yes, I just like to mention that. So now I'd like to open the floor for any questions that you might have for our entrepreneurs. Anyone?
Don't be shy.
Thank you. Good to go? All right, awesome. This is a question directed to all four, and before I begin, let me say thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us and everything. My question is has to do with the concept of pressure. As an entrepreneur, I'm sure in many cases, a lot of people risk everything that they have, and in a lot of cases, their livelihoods, their futures. As entrepreneurs, how do you deal with that kind of pressure?
Don't be shy.
All right. Is that a hockey jacket you have on there? Yes, it is. Okay. I think for me, some of which I draw upon is my old sports experience, because I think you're used to sort of taking things on and then you know that you'll get through it. Now, I have not, I haven't put up all of my assets as collateral, so I don't have that feeling of that kind of pressure. Some of my clients have. I think part of the thing is confidence, having confidence in yourself. Part of it is faking it, you know. I think you sort of have to project a certain amount of confidence, even those days that you don't have confidence. Owning a business is a lot of rejection. I know Mary Jane, I've heard her talk about stats on the phone. You know that not everybody you talk to is going to hire you, and I think resilience. I play hockey, but I coached a basketball team this year, and I joked at the end of the year, I said, we lost a lot of games this year. I just want to say to your parents that I was coaching you in resilience this year. So that was one of the offshoots of this whole season, because we lost, and hopefully you've got a life lesson from that. But I think, yeah, that's what I have to say.
You need to take a break from the pressure in whatever way you can. And depending what the situation is, if it's a daily situation for an extended period of time that you're feeling that pressure, then maybe you run every day. Maybe you get on the treadmill every day. You have to do something to break it up, because it isn't, if you sit at your desk and say, I'm going to stay here till I solve this, it just gets darker and darker and darker in that space. So you want to make sure that you get up and you walk away from the problem and get some exercise, eat well. Any big entrepreneur that you know of, if you're watching Dragon's Den or Shark Tank or any of those things that are available to us, if you read what those people do to have the lives they have, they're all eating well and they're all getting a lot of exercise, and it's a big part of handling stress. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to add as well, I think also when you're so isolated sometimes doing your own business, you lose sight of the fact that other entrepreneurs are going through the exact same things you're going through. So it always helps to speak with other organizations or other business owners. And as soon as you hear them say, oh yes, that's happening to me right now too, it does, for me, take some of that pressure off, because Corrine alluded to it as well. Sometimes it's about putting a face on and faking it. There was a funny saying I read once, and I thought, that's me. And it said something about, it may look like I have everything under control, but inside my shoe, my sock is falling off. And I feel like that some days. So for me, it's just understanding that other business owners are going through exactly what you're going through.
Can I just jump in? I play the guitar, but I also belong to, which I find helps, I belong to a group at the Center for Women in Business, which is essentially a monthly get-together. So yeah, we talk, and that certainly does help about our issues and the pressure and failures.
Yep.
I think those two things are crucial. One, which is often overlooked, is you have to be extremely healthy to be an entrepreneur, to really grow, because you work longer hours, you don't sleep as much, you have all that mental strain, you need to eat well. You really do. You need to eat well, you need to sleep well, drink lots of water, don't drink too much coffee, lots of little things like that. Second thing would be, you need a support team. You need someone to talk to so that you don't kind of become crazy in your own mind, for sure. I think the third thing, though, would be find strength in how hard it is. I'll give you an example. I used to train a lot of judo and different martial arts, and they would purposely, you'd purposely train harder and get thrown harder, and you'd remove the soft mats and get thrown on cement and different things, because in a competition or when you fight or train, you don't have all that soft mats. So it's almost like in business, you should know that it is really hard, but it's going to make you a lot tougher, and you won't be as tired or it won't be as strenuous next time you do it. So really find strength, I think, in those long hours, and know that it's going to be better. Again, like everyone was saying, I think hope and hard work, that's a good term.
Great, thank you all so much. I think we have time for one more question, if anybody has one. Anyone? Yeah, perfect. You're over there.
Hi. My question is, shouldn't we consider competition when we want to set up something?
I'll go first on that one.
Sure.
I'll say Voldemort's name out loud. 1-800-GOT-JUNK is a international franchise. So we knew when we wanted to enter the junk removal business, there were 2 junk removal franchises and about 100 or so guys with pickup trucks. And from a competition perspective, we wanted to position ourselves to compete directly against those national franchises. And that's what led us to building our brand to make us look like a franchise. One day we may be, but you need a very good understanding of what your competition is in that market. And then if you see that as a challenge that you can go after it, absolutely.
I think I heard the question right. It's what do you think about competition, right? Or sure. I think competition is such a great thing, and it's what before you go in business, or maybe a lot of people don't know, but if there's no competition, there's probably no business. It's think of a neighborhood. If someone gets a nice car and he looks 6 months later, half the people, more, everyone has a nice car. So in business, you really would almost love to, for example, set up a store near someone, or in a city, if there's a lot of what you're doing, it's probably the city to move to because people are interested, and it's a really good gauge. So a big thing for competition is, of course, know your competition, see how you can improve on what they're doing, and what the maybe reaction would be from the clients. But competition is a very, very good thing for sure.
I think I tried to find a couple of ways to differentiate myself from the competition, and I could go on about this forever. One for me was pricing. I chose a different pricing model than most lawyers price hourly, so they do hourly billing. I decided I didn't want to do that, so I differentiated myself that way. And the other way, I think, was just I work in a space with other small business owners. I don't work in a law firm environment, so part of my thing is just being in the environment where my clients are, so I try to make myself look and act more like they do. So I tried to find like those ways and a few other ways to differentiate myself from the competition.
In both my businesses, I was and am successful because I have competition. So I think that goes to what Sean's saying. I study my competition, and I figure out what market either they're not serving or they're not serving well, and I figure out how to do it better. And I love that challenge, and it's what has built my brand. So when you hire the phone lady, you're getting excellence. You're not getting something you're going to get anywhere else.
That's great. Thank you all so much. So one more question, I think.
So I have a business idea that I'm really, really passionate about, and I find it's really easy to get lost in my whole vision and my whole idea and all the different aspects that go along with how to start a business and a business plan and what I'm going to do and how I'm going to go about it. Is there something that you would recommend to focus on that might be a good start-off point to kind of jump through those different aspects and use as a bit of a starting point?
Could you share a little bit, or do you want to or not want to, a little bit about what it is, or no? You don't have to. That's okay. No, don't worry. I guess I can go first. A big thing would be, I seen an article actually, and I'm not sure if you can find it on Google just by typing this word, but something like how to test your startup idea in 5 days, I think it's called. Basically, create like a quick version. Like, for example, if you want to recreate a phone or a pair of glasses or something, try to work with a design, or just do it like a mock-up. Like everyone's very visual. Even for services, you can do a mock-up of a pamphlet. If it makes sense when you see it, it makes, and then you can also convince others, get constructive criticism, get ideas. But if it's kind of hard if it's just an idea, if you just tell someone, they might not have your same reality. So if you can create a little bit of a reality, like a product mock-up or even a brochure mock-up, and then show somebody, they're going to have a really good reality of and then they'll really be able to help you as well. So I think a little bit of a mock-up of a product or even a service would go a long way.
Yeah, I would say, I was going to say something like that. Get something out there and get some feedback on it as early as possible. I went and I anticipated that accountants would send me business, so one of the first things I did was went and had coffee with a whole bunch of accountants and said, what do you think about this? And even before I started anything. So I would say, yeah, figure out maybe who your client, who might pay you, and go talk to them about your idea.
And for both my businesses, I did something similar. So for the first one, I called 100 companies in various industries across Canada and said, if this existed, would you pay for it? And I got a resounding yes, so quit my job and started a business. For the phone lady, I took a different approach. I printed a brochure on a dot matrix printer, mailed out 10 of them, followed up, and got 3 jobs right away. So you want to test your marketplace somehow. To see if what you're thinking the world is also missing.
Great advice from everyone up here. For me, what I would suggest is if you have an idea, I'm sure you already have a name in your mind as well of what you want to do. And I think oftentimes with small businesses, we get so excited about launching that, there are many steps, A through Z, and it's sometimes difficult if you start on step D and have everything done and website and everything, and then find out that your name's not available and that you actually can't use that name. You don't want to set yourself back and have to redo steps. Places like the Center for Women in Business, places like SEED. One of the questions that we were asked when we accepted the nomination at the Halifax Chamber of Commerce was, do you think the process for starting a business can be streamlined? And it was a question I was really passionate about because I do think it could be. There could be a 1,000-step brochure. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Right now, all of those steps exist, but it's fragmented from a number of different areas. So I would suggest going and meeting with someone like Nora from the Center for Women in Business. Go to SEED. Tell them that you have an idea and ask them what they would recommend you do for the first step so that you don't have to go backwards and repeat work that you've already done or be disappointed down the path.
One thing I'll add, there's a great book out there called Rework. I forget the name of the authors, and I apologize for that. But it's written by young men who started an online service, which I pay for. And they have documented how easily they created a business. And they're opposite to some of us up here. They don't believe in business plans. They don't believe in going big. But they created something for which they have made a lot of money and created a lot of fame. And it's an easy book to read. And it'll give you some ideas of the path, one of the paths you can take.
And Sean, I know you had something to add.
A quick thing. I want to say, do it, first of all. But to everyone, again, really just start something. Something really cool I see all the time, and it's fascinating, is I talk to entrepreneurs or people that started a company, and they say, yeah, I started this idea and I started this company, but I don't do it anymore. I found out something completely different. I found a completely new market. But the point is, they started the process, they did the name search, they tested the general market, they knew how to work a website, whatever it was. They just started, and a lot of these people, like every day almost, I run into people that say, like, I tried to start this company, but now I'm doing something so much better. So really, again, start it or test it, and good luck.
Thank you all so much. I'd just like to thank you all for being here and taking the time out of your busy entrepreneur lives to come and chat with us and give us some really great advice. So on behalf of myself, the students, and the Mount's Business and Tourism Department, thank you so much for coming. And I'd like to give a big round of applause to our entrepreneurs. So for anybody who's getting their Learning Passport stamp, you can go see Tisa and Nora at the front here. Thank you all so much for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Development, right?
Thank you.